Nothing is still within this universe of motion. This physical universe that we live in is made because of motion. Opposing forces create the illusion of motion. And I'm going to attempt to prove to you in this video that nothing within this physical universe is still, which leads to an interesting question. How can we find the stillness? Well, we're going to get into that towards the end of this video. So I'm sitting here in my chair, not moving. Am I still? It would appear that I'm still. If I look through my five senses, I could look around and I could see the lights, the computer, the monitor. Everything seems still. I get this sense of stillness, but I need to realize from a higher perspective that I'm not still. Nothing is still. I have atoms and molecules in my body. There is a constant flow of energy through there. They are constantly metabolizing, moving. I've got electrons moving through my body at a constant rate, at a constant state, always. Okay, they are just moving always. Now, even though my senses don't perceive motion, there is motion. This is a universe of motion. I'm sitting here on planet Earth. Now, again, if I look from a macro perspective, I see my body, I could sit here completely still, but the Earth is moving through the solar system. It's rotating, revolving around the sun. The sun is revolving and moving, the solar system moving through the galaxy, and the galaxy is rotating and moving through the universe. So from this perspective here, it would appear that I'm sitting in stillness, but from a higher perspective, I am not sitting in stillness. I am, in fact, as are all of you, moving at an incredible rate throughout the universe. That is perspective. That is relativity. Now, what were to happen if we were to be moving through space? Let's say I was on a spacecraft, okay, moving through space at a fantastic speed. How would I know that I'm moving through space? Well, there are objects throughout the cosmos, the planets, the stars. Just as we get a GPS fix with multiple GPS satellites here on Earth, they can fix a position on Earth. That position is fixed relative to that observer on Earth. But from a higher perspective, moving through the cosmos, we're in fact moving at a great rate. I'll say that again. Now, if I'm on this craft moving through space at a fantastic rate, how can I tell that I'm moving? Well, I would need to be able to measure my position off of certain objects. If I were moving away from Earth and towards Jupiter, let's say, I would increase distance from Earth and decrease the distance from Jupiter. These are measurable events. Those events signal to me that I am moving. It is a perspective. Now, am I really moving? Well, again, we are in a universe of motion, and our senses can detect motion based on the position of objects around us. Okay, is that making sense? Now, if I were to remove all the objects from space, and except for the spacecraft that I am sitting in, moving through space at a fantastic rate of speed, would I be moving? Would I be able to perceive motion without those objects to be able to gauge distance to and from, moving towards and moving away? If I'm on that spacecraft without those fixes in position, would I be able to perceive motion? Probably not. But am I moving relative to the observer? That depends. Me on the craft might not appear that I'm moving. However, if you were to take a really high bird's eye view of the universe with nothing in the universe but me in that spacecraft moving, you would likely see motion, because there is motion constantly. Okay, is that making sense? Now, because we're in this universe of motion, we are bringing forward thought forms, and they are able to manifest because the polarities of electrical charge, they create this appearance of motion. Now, how do we find stillness? Now, as spiritual, we talk about stillness, right? How do we find stillness? Well, we need to detach from those thoughts that are creating this reality and move through our heart space portal. When we could do that and get aligned to get centered, we can approach a doorway that allows us to essentially have one foot in the unmanifested and one foot in the manifested. Okay, so there's a portal to our multidimensional selves. Right here, it's a singularity in the heart space. It is a black hole. We could call it that. When we could get into stillness and detach from our thoughts, we could have a subtle awareness of stillness and yet have an awareness of our presence in this physical universe. When we can do that, we literally open a doorway and we allow information or knowing from the infinite source field, from the quantum field, to move through that and come up into our brain so that we can perceive it. And we can start to bring information forward using thought into this time-space reality and create the things that you see around you. So we need to get into that space of stillness, or as close to it as possible, to tap into that field, because we are in a universe of motion. So think of it that way. We're not going to find stillness by looking around us. Everything is moving, as I have just proven to you. In this universe, there is no stillness. We get inside into the quiet and we approach the singularity. And that singularity is where matter converts back to energy. Think of a black hole. Matter falls into the black hole, converts back to energy. Okay. So when we can get into that space, we can rise in frequency and we can expand ourselves to be able to match information and start to pull it in from the quantum field. Think about the Akashic records. Think about cosmic knowledge, Nikola Tesla, Walter Russell, things like that. Albert Einstein being able to tap into these fields. You get into that stillness, detach from the physical universe of motion, get into that stillness and allow that energy and that information to come through. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Thank you.